Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? Today we're going to take another run at it, like we always do. The intention is to get in touch with who we are most specifically as source energy. And there's some really, really big practical reasons why we need to do this. Really, really big practical reasons. Along with some esoteric spiritual ones, some reasons that that might be harder to quantify. In any case, who am I? Who am I? Who am I as source energy? And what is source energy? What is this 0-point energy field that you hear everyone talking about? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's who you are. We are the field. We are made up of this field. And if we would understand, if we could grasp this in even a small way, we could transform our human situation on planet Earth in short order. Things like poverty erased from the planet in 20 years. War gone. Let me not get too ahead of myself, because I can express this so that people can understand just how big this understanding, how big these implications are. Now, if you're one of my regular listeners, then you're one of only one or two people on the planet, so I'm probably not talking to you. Well, I probably am talking to you because nobody else is listening right now. But if you're one of my regular listeners, you'll know that most of the time, usually I spend quite a long time on my explanation of your GPS guidance system, your configuration of your binary configuration, your inner being self, your cosmic vibrational anatomy, working in tandem with your expirational meat self, your specific mind and your broader perspective mind. If you're a regular listener, then you know slides like this. This is usually what I spend my time talking about, is your emotional guidance system. We talk about the emotional guidance scale. This is very Abraham Hicks talks. This is all they talk about. Source energy. You are source energy. You were source energy before you came into this body, and the largest part of you still is. And you have this inner being that is your broader perspective, that has a grip on all of reality around you. While you live your little life, it knows what's really going on. And the total of what it's going, it's focusing upon what you want. It's looking at what you want. And so the idea is to get into alignment with your broader perspective, inner being, and get into alignment with your inner being, because it's looking at what you want. So you want to be looking that direction too. A lot of times we don't even know what we want. We just know we want to be happier than we are. There's feelings that we want to feel that we're not feeling. Right now we might be feeling despair or uncertainty, depression, whatever our emotions are. We have ideas about what we think the relationship from our feelings to reality. We have this idea. I spend a lot of time in my presentations of Who Am I talking about this emotional guidance scale, because it's really important, and it does relate to source energy. It is your source energy aspect, broader perspective, knows everything mind, that you're trying to get into alignment with reality itself. Line up your analytical consciousness to imagine the physical world as it really is, not some phantasmagorical, superstitious nonsense you might have been taught about reality as you were growing up. Probably from your religious background, you got some ancient cosmology that really doesn't relate to exactly how reality comes into being and who you are as source energy. Anyway, my point is, usually I talk about that aspect of the picture because my presentation is largely to draw some dots, connecting some dots between some very large concepts. And sometimes, each one of the concepts I'm trying to draw a line from in itself is not necessarily well understood by everybody and has quite a lot of component parts, making it, something, each of the component parts I kind of need to explain and then draw dots between them. That's kind of what my presentation is. So we're talking about who am I? Who am I as source energy? As source energy, and so that brings to light two very large things. One is, who am I as source energy as an individual, and how does my system function? What do my emotions mean? And then the other aspect is the nature of just a layman's understanding, but the nature of the quantum field itself and how miraculous is that, and how that works, how the quantum field is actually this morphogenetic plasma that can become anything we want it to. Anything we want it to. It can become anything. We can become anything. We can be, do, or have anything we want. The way the system works, you have to get clear on what you want. And if you look at the condition of humanity on planet Earth right now, what you're actually seeing is you're seeing what it looks like when we're out of alignment with who we are. That's all we're seeing. We are armed and dangerous. That's true. We are out of control in a lot of ways. We are spinning off into... We've got some really tough lessons coming to us, actually. They don't have to be so tough. They could be way, way more gentle if we would get a general understanding of the situation that we're looking at and then kind of guide your eyes to start looking at what you want, and from a perspective of what reality actually is, and then things would start moving a lot more gently. One of the problems is we don't understand who we are. So we are misunderstanding, we are misreading the nature of the situation, and then acting inappropriately because we are misreading the truth of the situation, the reality of the situation. We are misreading the meaning of our emotions. Of course, when we look at things that we don't like, we do not have to like them. Nobody's asking anybody to like them. However, our negative emotions about conditions are not as they're not as understood as we think. When you have a negative emotion, it actually is not a direction to act on the condition immediately. It's not what you think. Your emotional guidance system is not telling you what you think it's telling you. I gotta take a really quick break. Excuse me for a second while I... So, all my point is that usually I talk about this situation from that perspective, from the personal perspective of what do my emotions mean, how do I focus, how does my focus and attention and how I feel when I do that indicate to me whether I am in alignment with my inner being or not in alignment with... know that it's not like, oh, all of us are in alignment and you are not in alignment. Every single human being is in and out of alignment all the time. Although maybe all the time is not quite If you are generally in a state of positive emotion most of the time, if you're generally an optimistic person, you believe your own desires and you move towards them, you have a happy and effective life, all of that, then most of the time you're in alignment, but no one's always in alignment. If you have a flash of annoyance, during that flash of annoyance, you're not in alignment with your inner being. So usually I talk about that. I'll talk about it really quickly today because I'm a little bit jazzed about something else this morning. I often, if you're a regular listener, you have heard me, and most of you aren't regular listeners, so I'll just tell you. I've been giving people a recommendation to watch a movie. It's called The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Now, I've been telling everybody, I bought mine on YouTube, and I bought mine on Amazon, and I did, cost me about 12 or 13 bucks, something like that, so I've got it. But I found it on YouTube, the whole video, it's an hour and 46 minutes, the whole movie is for free on YouTube, and that's in alignment with what they're saying, open source, this is for humanity, this is what everybody needs to know. It's time for the crazy inventors to quit trying to hog this information to themselves so that they themselves can create their own multi-billion-dollar empire. That's not what this is. This is us trying to understand who we are. Who we are as source energy, who we are as the quantum field, who we are as 0-point energy. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today because I watched that movie again yesterday and I'm jazzed. There's two parts to this presentation. One is a better understanding of who we are emotionally and individually so that we can intentionally guide our emotions into happy zones. That sounded wrong. I don't mean guide our consciousness into happy zones. That's a terrible way to put it. But you can guide your own life into your own happily ever after. How about that? Your dreams come true. Be more effective. Be more connected as you connect to your inner being and all of what you truly desire. You may think you want certain things. Your mind, your conventional mind may think, oh, I want this and I want this and I want this. But your inner being in your heart, in your feelings, in your who you are, knows what it is you really want, what really floats your boats. Even if you can't put a name to it, your inner being knows what it is and is moving towards it now. If you would get into alignment with your inner being, you could move towards what you want more effectively, more gracefully, more successfully. All of that. Usually I talk about that. Today I want to have an emphasis on the other side of this, because our understanding of 0-point energy is going to change the physical game on planet Earth. Go watch that movie, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. It is a documentary of a century's worth of suppression on over-unity devices and the truth about UFOs that is keeping fossil fuels in place. We do not need to keep burning fossil fuels. We really don't. The technology exists to get away from this. And easily the mindset and direction, if we would all be allowed to point that direction, they've been stomping out these kinds of devices for 100 years, deep-sixing them often along with their inventors. Depending on what was needed. Sometimes it was just sufficient to buy them out and shelve the damn thing. Sometimes just threatening and disgracing or whatever is good enough. Sometimes murder was required. But that time is over. Consciousness is rising. You can't hide from all of us forever who we really are. And it is an implication of who we really are as our understanding of the quantum field implies an understanding of who we are that we're finally getting to. Who am I? Who am I? I am the quantum field. I am the divine matrix. And we no longer have to live in a world where we manufacture goods the way we manufacture them. We do not have to do what we do to produce goods. We can summon them directly from the morphic field. And that's a lot of, if you watch the movie, there's a moment in there where you see them, I think it's a representation of it. I don't think that this is what they're actually doing. Somebody's got some very good illustrative AI generation going on. It shows them trying to get into a spacecraft, and they couldn't get into it with a diamond drill bit and all kinds of stuff because it wasn't made the way we would make things. It's almost like it is possible to set up, to use the quantum field as our morphogenetic, sort of like the way in Star Trek they use the, what do they call the word I was looking for is replicator. In Star Trek, the replicator. We can morph this field into things. We don't need to manufacture the way. Actually, our whole paradigm will be different once we understand collectively what this field is and that we are made of this field. This is who we are. We are the divine matrix itself. So, we can get off fossil fuels. I'm so excited to see that this is all possible. You know, I don't know. Hold on. So, I don't like this. I mean, I do like this illustration. This is the illustration I use to illustrate the two aspects of our minds. So we are our source energy mind, the one that is connected to all things. And then we are our specific self, as we know ourselves to be. This is who we are. And I believe that this greater understanding of who we are and how we ourselves function, combined with looking outward and realizing, oh, there is an answer to our energy issues. And the answer is not austerity and rationing and slow spiral into death for the planet, because human beings just can't be satisfied with whatever. That's not what we're looking at. What we're looking at is a situation where human beings absolutely can continue on forever. We can just keep on going into the thousands of years into the future. We don't have to worry about, oh my God, we only have 15 years left, and then we have reached a tipping point that we can't get past. How long have you been hearing that? That is the truth of our situation if we don't wake up. But that's not the actual truth of our situation. We can live harmoniously on planet Earth and joyfully and abundantly and to the top of our lungs and to the full swelling of our hearts. We do not have to contract and become small in order to be able to survive on this planet. We can be ourselves and live on this planet for a long time. How do we do that? How do we do that? Well, we got to understand source energy. You got to know who we are. We have to know what 0 point energy is and how that it is possible to extract energy directly from the quantum field. There's a lot of other things that you can do short of that will still free us from fossil fuels. There are steady state frequencies out in the universe and resonant frequencies with the earth that you can tune to. And there's all kinds of devices that people have invented over the last 100 years that can put out way more energy than they take to run them. The idea that that is a physics impossibility is propaganda and nonsense. And it comes from a vast structure that wants to stay in place. There are hundreds of trillions of dollars of now dollars in our present economy that are at stake. People who, if we stay vested in the current paradigm, they pretty much own and control us for the next, 100 years until we all die, because we've turned the planet into Dune. But up until then, they will rule it. They will own the private islands and the fabulous jets and billion-dollar yachts and all that sort of thing. They will own the political structure. Their candidates will be the ones that we elect. Actually, when you watch this movie, The Lost Century, and I think maybe today my theme is going to be centered around that movie a little bit more. It already has been. I got kind of worked up yesterday when I watched it again, because I realized how this movie was speaking to me specifically too. Back in the 80s, when I was in my 20s. I was in my 20s for all of the 80s. And during that time period, I was very much a lone wolf kind of person. I've always been just my own self. I'm not a joiner. I don't belong to groups. The only group I actually belong to is I'm on a bowling league. Other than that, I really belong to no groups. For a minute, I was a progressive Democrat, but although technically I suppose I'm part of that party, I no longer identify that way at all. I no longer identify politically, because I realize that the biggest evil, the biggest enemy that we've got out there is the polarity in the field. That's the problem, not any specific... there is no us and them. There's no villain. There is only us. And we have to understand that if we're really going to truly walk away from our current problems in the world. During the 80s was my time of activism. I was an animal activist. I was activist. I'm going to air quote this, activist. I wasn't exactly an activist. I thought about these things and I felt about these things. But when I say activist, I didn't actually do anything. The most active thing I ever did was to subscribe to a couple of magazines. I think I belonged to the Nature Conservancy and I gave them money. I belonged to the Humane Farming Association or whatever, and I gave them money. I think I got both of their magazines. That's about as active as I ever got. I discovered the concept of vivisection, what was going on with that when I was in my 20s. And I realized, because remember, that was the 80s. In the 80s, we started recognizing this powerful monstrosity structure taking shape around the globe, and that was the multinational corporation. And I remember being all kind of excited about that and trying to get people to understand, hey, look what's happening to us. Look what we're doing. We need to stop this. We need to stop this. But I didn't fully understand myself as source energy yet, and I believe now that this is the key. This is the key component that unlocks everything else. When we understand ourselves as source energy, both from a specific point of view and then from a collective point of view, it will free us from fossil fuels. It will bring us into harmonious alignment with the rest of the field. it will not only free us from fossil fuels, but from the whole paradigm we've got going on right now. This paradigm of, trading our petrodollars amongst each other, and the way we manufacture, the way we trade, the way we... all of it's getting ready to change, by the way. All of it is getting ready to change. Right now, if you are making your living on the old paradigm, the foundation is quite shaky, people. It's very, very shaky, because that paradigm is dissolving. And new understandings and new paradigms are coming into being. I would like to try, it is my humble desire, my intention, to pull together this presentation, either this morning or, in the future and forever. This is what I am doing now. It is, I am working on this understanding, this ability to draw the dots between very large concepts. This idea of law of attraction, and how your guidance, your emotions are an internal vibrational guidance system, showing you a relativity between the frequency that your inner being is at and the frequency that you're at. You have two minds. That's these two minds. Source mind, you mind. Both of them are thinking thoughts. And how are they in frequency? How are they lining up or in resonant discord? Which one are they? And how you feel is your indication of where you're at. If you're in a state of negative emotion, then that means that your thoughts are out of resonance with the thoughts of your inner being. You kind of need to get them into resonance. Now, in our misunderstanding of our own emotional guidance system, we believe that our emotions are a direct call to change the condition right now, to act. We think it's a signal to act. And quite frankly, your negative emotion is sort of like when Simon doesn't, when I was trying to do an analogy there. It's your indication to not act. It's not your indication to act. It's your indication to not act. Not act just yet. It's like, okay, I see you. That's a problem. Something needs to be done there, but I can't act while I am in my state of negative emotion, because my state of negative emotion puts me out of alignment with my inner being, and now I don't have access to the best ideas. Now I can't actually fix it. Yes, this thing needs to be fixed, but in my state of negative emotion, no longer am I getting the right impulses to fix it. You see how this works? So this is important. This is important is what I usually talk about. It's what Abraham talks about all the time. They never talk about source energy from this other standpoint that I'm going to be talking about in just a minute. But it does add up. They add up. These two concepts add up. And so anyone who understands the law of attraction understand that physics has got it going on now. And all of you people in the new physics understand that law of attraction is right in tandem with your concepts. There is a place where these two things meet. And in the end, it is my prayer, my desire, my intention to help us all move to this place in our pedagogical evolution where we leave fossil fuels behind, we leave war behind, we leave scarcity and poverty behind. We do not live in a scarce paradigm. And so the fact that we have created this scarce paradigm, this paradigm of scarcity that we have created, makes us believe that we actually live in a paradigm of scarcity, but we don't. We live in the setup that we live in is absolute abundance. And the only reason it has turned into scarcity is because we have artificially been holding ourselves on fossil fuels. We do not need to. The only reason that we have is because up until this point we have not understood source energy. We had the beginnings, the glimmering of an understanding 100 years ago when we discovered quantum mechanics. Now, if you watch the movie that I have been hawking all morning, now remember you can go watch it on YouTube for free, so I'm not trying to get you to buy anything. I have YouTube Premium, so my YouTube version was completely commercial free. I don't know if yours is going to have lots of commercials in it. That might be a reason to buy it, or to go get YouTube Premium or whatever, so you don't have to watch the commercials. I don't know, but especially if the commercials are for anything pharmaceutical or petroleum based. But watch this movie. It implies a whole lot of things. This paradigm of scarcity that we are undergoing right now is just because the powers that be, and unfortunately those powers include my government. Now, that's another interesting thing about our government. We have a shadowy government, a dark side to our government, a really, really dark side to our government. And so far, when we elect reasonably well-intentioned human beings to lead that government, as in being president of the United States, it sort of, to some extent, holds that black ops aspect of ourselves at bay. But should we ever elect again, now we saw a taste of it for a minute, and he has matured in his development as the authoritarian. He has matured in his field. He's going to be better at it this next time. And when I say better at it, I mean worse at it. I mean, it's going to be awful. We do not want to elect the authoritarian dictator. However, I can see a whole lot of the infrastructure, the day-to-day, what everybody's doing to get their piece of the paradigm as we've got it going on. It's not going to be an easy move from where we are to where we want to be. It can be a lot easier. What would make our landing softer is if we understood who we are and then started leaning that way and moving that way and realizing which direction it's going to come. Otherwise, this is going to blindside us. And the bombs are going to take down our institutions as opposed to just like moving away from them like they could. There's going to be a lot of shifting around. A lot of what we don't like is going to happen, and I don't mean to be gloom and doom. Actually, let's cut to the chase. My overall position is, if I could put something on... Actually, it's such a mixed message. My message is a mixed one, which is funny, because I'm looking for clarity, and I would like you to see clarity. The truth of the matter is that all is well. Fear not, because all is well. I spent, I don't know how many decades of my life in pain, coming into awareness with the physical situation of what was going on in the world. And I was very upset by it. I had possession in the 80s. I had possession of a movie. It was kind of a black... It wasn't a black market movie, but it was a movie that you couldn't easily get your hands on. It was called Hidden Crimes, and it was all about the vivisection industry and its connection to the pharmaceutical industry and the education of physicians, to the our system of laws, to our allopathic medicine model, all of this stuff, and this underbelly of horror was so disturbing to me. It was part of my animal activism in the 80s, was trying to get people to understand how awful, how wicked our medicine model was, and this horrible spirit that, to me, I could feel the sameness of the what was going on in the vivisection labs to what had happened in Dr. Mengele's lab in Auschwitz. That spirit, it was the same spirit of ignorance and misunderstanding of life itself and the reality of the sacredness of existence and all blah, 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 blah. But it still put me in a place where whenever I looked at it, I became horrified and angry and frightened and all of that, which meant that I was disconnecting from my inner being, and I myself was not understanding who we are and how this is really working, and how to interpret my emotional guidance system as an indictment of the validity of the thoughts I'm taking about things, not an indictment about whether I like things or not. I don't have to like what I don't like, you know? And as a matter of fact, our design is very specifically we're supposed to be following our desires. It's like Joseph Campbell, when he said, follow your bliss, he's saying, follow what turns you on. Follow what you want. Follow what you like. Follow what you love. Follow what brings you to life. Find your bliss, but don't be afraid to follow it. Actually, the setup of source energy, the setup of this system of organized and organizing coherent spin, all of that system depends on each and every one of us following our bliss. The system is set up so that each and every one of us can have what we want. We can all move towards what we want. And I would suggest all of us do move towards what we want, because it is the harmonious orchestration and organization of our love that Source is so good at. Source is love. Source is love. And you have to follow your bliss, follow what you want, follow your desires, follow what you like, follow all of that, because Source is organizing us at that level. At that level, that's where it's organizing us along the lines of what we love. And so through the 80s, I was very disturbed. That was when we were starting to move in a very big way our food production systems from agrarian, smaller farms, more humane practices into these gigantic super ag monstrosity farms. You know, these bastions of animal suffering and places where our food supply was in more danger also of contamination, germs, and nasty things were happening when we do it in this terrible, disconnected way. And since then, actually, I didn't do this until the 2000s, but I have become a vegetarian, mostly because I do not appreciate the way that we collectively produce our meat. I would love to see all of the world in harmonious alignment with our inner beings and understanding of source energy and extracting our energy needs from source energy itself, as opposed to this digging up fossil fuels and turning it into whatever the thing that we're doing now. When we get there, if we are all in alignment, I don't actually think that life eating life is a wickedness. I just believe that being out of alignment as we do it causes such tremendous suffering, I can't be a part of it. That's all. I look forward to the day when I can have a beautifully, humanely appreciated and raised piece of natural meat that I know had a good life before it came into my body to nourish me. I'm looking forward to that day. I hope it happens in my lifetime. And I'm not saying that that some people are not already in alignment and raising their animal meats that way, but I just want to see us doing it more intentionally, more collectively. I want us to understand who we are, and who we are, and I'm going to kind of drift and dribble off into Sorry about that. This is not a tremendously clean presentation. I wouldn't even invite you in, except for I need practice recording this, knowing that people are going to listen to me. I did this for quite a few months. First of all, without recording it, and then recording it on something that I couldn't actually save it very well, and then now recording it here, but without people listening to me for several months. And then now I'm recording and I'm posting. And so there remains the risk at any given day when I post something, somebody might listen to it. Oh my gosh, changes the game. And I need to practice this, because what I'm really working on, you may think I'm trying to create these recordings, and I am on one level, but what I'm really trying to create is me. I'm trying to create myself as a person who can step into these topics and connect them and understand them, to know who I am as the quantum field, who I am as my emotional guidance system, who my inner being is, and what it's trying to tell me in my life, how it is trying to lead me to the bliss that will organize us all. I want to make it to that life where every one of us is following our own star, our own impulse of direction, coming from source energy itself, source mind that is guiding and leading us all. Leading and guiding, helping, informing, enlightening. Who are we? Who are we? We are a binary system. I guess I am going to talk more about this, although this relates to the physics of source energy, and we're going to talk about that probably in the second hour. Let's see if I can finish this up within the next 15 minutes or so, and then I will switch over to trying to draw the line from here over to an understanding of physics and how source energy is bringing appearance. It's bringing reality into being across the 0 point energy field. How that is happening, and how our understanding of this is going to revolutionize everything. It's going to revolutionize how we manufacture things. It's like, think of the quantum field as like this massive 3D printer. It's like a 3D printer. Or it can be like a 3D printer. We can literally use it like a 3D printer. We can morph things in alignment with the rest of the stuff. If you morph something directly from the quantum field, by its very definition, it's going to be in alignment with the rest of with reality, with source energy. It will be in alignment with source energy, or you won't be able to summon it through source energy across the 0 point field. Now, that may have sounded like a lot of gobbledygook, and not just gobbledygook, but what do they call it? Like psychobabble. But it isn't. I'm really talking about something. This is all very exciting to me, because as my heart cried out in despair in the 80s, as my young mind, as I grew up and my young inquisitive mind looked around and realized the horrors that we were perpetrating to our planet, to our fellow human beings, to our fellow non-human beings, when I fully realized the extent of that and then tried to fuss about it, for a minute I thought that there was no help for us. I thought that we were deep in the throes of committing our own destruction, and I couldn't see any way out. Excuse me. Since then, I have come to know something very profound about the situation that we find ourselves in. And I think it's really important. I know when I learned this, when I learned this aspect of reality, I must admit it changed the game for me. This was something Abraham was trying to tell us about the nature of our inner being, and that everyone has an inner being. And everyone's inner being is very clearly for them keeping track of what they want and echoing it back to them, trying to guide them through through their internal emotional guidance system that I've put up on the board a couple of times. Here's another way of looking at it too. This is your emotional guidance system. This is showing you where your emotions are on the scale, and which direction source is. It's always up, higher frequency. First you release your negative emotions, you get into and then you rise higher than that into states of positive emotion. This is your emotional guidance scale. And what does that mean? What does it all mean? And everyone has an inner being that is guiding them, that is always keeping track of what they want and guiding them that direction. Always, always, always. So they wrote a book called Ask and It Is Given. Ask and It Is Given. And it outlines the steps of creation, 1, 2, 3. They talk about a 4 and 5, but 4 and 5 is really other versions of 1, 2, 3. It's 1, 2, 3. Step 1, I ask. Step 2, source answers. Step 3, I have to get into the mindset, the frequency, the state of allowance, so that I am not railing against whatever it was that I've been asking for. You know, you have to get out of your state of negative emotion and into a state of satisfaction or higher in order to allow fully what you have asked for to come into your experience. However, ask and it is given, from their perspective, it's a done deal. Because now it exists vibrationally, and the vibration always precedes the form. So the vibration is now there. The vibration of the answers now exists in the field because you asked for it, and Source answered you. This is the steps of creation. Step 2, Source answers. So how does this relate to what I've been talking about this morning? Well, in the 80s, when I was in my 20s, a young woman, and striking out on my own, very much on my own. I was not part of any group. I didn't finish college. I never became a professional in a field that has groups. My profession was I was a bartender. A bartender for like 12 years until I got pregnant. 11 years actually. Well, I was a bartender for a little while after. Anyway. And then I was a mother, stay-at-home mom. I was a worker. I was just a regular person. I'm a regular person. I'm nobody. And that's actually, I think that's part of the beauty of this, that I am nobody. Because if it's starting to filter down into just people, then we really are on something. And we really are going to be okay. So, the reason I brought this up, asking is given. I asked, and I feel like this understanding of source energy is my answer being given. It really is true. Asking is given. The problems that we have, they are not problems They are opportunities. They are gaps to close. On the other hand, now my emotions are kind of flitting around. That's how come my consciousness is sort of flitting with me. When you watch the movie, you will understand that on one level, we are crying out here on planet Earth. We need this solution. It is the cause of all suffering on the planet right now. Actually, this is the perfect time to bring in. I usually do everything just to make sure. These are the 5 kleshas of Buddhist philosophy. The root causes of suffering. And all of this has to do with misidentifying and misunderstanding the setup and the situation. Who are you? Who am I? What is source energy? How does it function? I am source energy, so how does my biotechnology that I am born in, how do I live my life? How do I not fall into suffering? So, number 4, identifying with an imaginary self. I see that one as, they are. Let me show you. This picture right here. Identifying with an imaginary self. We're going back to this picture. Look at this one. So this is the representation of your source mind and your explorational mind. You know, your always mind and your meat vehicle mind. Your brain and the skull mind. And then your source mind. There are 2 minds. And they both are thinking thoughts. They are both a spinning point of attraction that is attracting unto it of existence, like a tornado gathering cars in its spin. Only it's not that kind of spin. It's a spin of spin. And there's massive point of attraction all the rest of reality. That's your soul. Crystal mind thinking whatever thoughts it's thinking. It might be very small, mean little thoughts. And if it is, then you're feeling negative emotions from your small, mean little thoughts. Because those small, mean little thoughts are out of resonance with the frequency of the thought of your source of thinking. Right? That's actually the meaning of negative emotions. Because you have taken small, mean thoughts with a bigger, broader thought. And they are not blending in frequency well to what the source is. So, when you are overly identified with the inspirational self, becoming, when you know that who you really are is eternal source-based, doing what following it wants. That's what source is doing. All of its existence, following its bliss. It's following its bliss. And the choice of following its bliss or becoming sort of a chaotic destructive into clarity with it, or to stay in the negative and fuss and whatever. But depending on what you're doing, you're either happy or suffering. All of that not knowing who you really are. Who you are, grasping things that aren't real instead of acting and claiming that feel. The world of flux, objects, the world, all of the things look like all of the things. If you can't cling to all of the things, what the hell can you cling to? Because that's everything. but it isn't really. And it is your job to bring into being. And how do you do that? On what you want. Don't focus what we don't want. Focus what you want. You can see what we don't want. It's there. I can see it. Or I can see the authoritarian fixed mass extinction out there, holding the ocean, all of that. See all of that. Growing agitation and inflammation between the human beings on planet Earth. That we are living in a paradigm of scarcity, but we aren't. Ironically, we are living in a freaking potentially abundant. This is the true meaning of why people are so upset about abortions. It's because and it is very true. A poor woman and children, sneaks off and gets the 11th. She herself is in this paradigm of scarcity, expected to, be abundant within it. It's our paradigm that is causing the problem. Single blessing is truly anticipated, is recognized the miracle that we are. We meet on this side with joy and welcome, and it's true that if you are but more and more and more and more is aborting their children, there is a bigger problem. You've got a bigger problem going on. In the paradigm of abundance, somehow you got screwed up. You're operating in a paradigm of setup is what the setup is, right? Well, which one is it? Abundance or scarcity? Well, it's abundance, but right here it's illustrating the power, enormous power of the human to create whatever it's thinking about, including in a setup of absolute abundance. That's how good we are. So it's really important that humans get a grip on our creative forces. Know that we creators. And whatever we are looking at, that is the spirit of the direction that we are moving in. And if you are all focused and bound up in negative, then that's what we're moving in. We're moving in chaos. We're creating more. The important thing, the good thing, the more that we do, the more loud and obvious the visual aid to, for instance, my talk is easier and easier to make because what the visual needs to support it are more obvious, more loud. If you don't get it, don't worry, it'll get bigger. Don't worry, it'll get bigger. It'll get bigger. Oh, that's freaking. We need to understand who we are. Grasping and clinging to the unreal is actually the apparition itself. It's sort of unreal. It's a morphing field. So if you grasp the forms as though they are permanent, in a way you can grasp it real. It is real, but it's rolling. It is shifting, it's changing. It is not fixed. There's nothing in the world of physicality that is fixed. Now, there are things that are pretty stable. The proton, mass at the center of the atom. The proton is pretty stable. I can jump to this. It is the I said I was going to focus on this, and I haven't focused. I've been focusing on the other stuff, but my whole presentation is about connecting dots. Connecting dots to things so that we understand that, our configuration, our design, our themes, and how our focus, and all of that, how our design works in that way, relate to the source itself, which also relates to physics and our ability to food and life to if we do not get this lesson, life will not be Earth. But I was saying, a news put out to all the world. The first one would be something like, "Fear not, for all is well." All is well. For a long time in the 80s, I didn't think I couldn't see the way out. I couldn't see. It just seemed, in order to get out of it, all these people to do something different than what they're doing. I have no power to do any of that stuff because here I am, one bartender, no connection to any group. How do I get the multinational corporation to do what? No power. I didn't feel like I now understand. Ask, it is given. You ask, it is given. Source, there is a way out of the container. Oh my God. There really is a way out. People working on it even as I am working on it even as we speak. Working at it for all kinds of different every one of us absolutely that knows who we are and the vibration we will. I am an expression. You are an expression of where we are going. We are all so blessed and so about the future of mankind. Don't focus on what we've got. Do not focus on what we've got. Focus on what you want. This is how we're designed. We're not because what we've got is a physical situation that's changing all the time. And so what are you supposed to focus on? What you want. Your focus on do that and everyone want. And I'll tell you what clarity, abundance, health, purity, safety, fun, food, laughter, joy, want children, but all happy children, be out people, we all want that. All want that. And we have we just need to overthrow this imposed upon us right now by who are the powers of evil. Well, I don't want to name us and them. It is all us. It is all that, there are those of us in certain aspects of this, those billionaires, oligarchs, claiming petro structure and all of this infrastructure. All of a sudden, I used 10 years ago, bad thing that are up with one that we couldn't get anything done. All of the all of the bridges and the and all of that kind of stuff needed to be updated. It was crumbling. We don't want infrastructure. That's not what we want to put. We want to throw our where we want to do it. We want the new, all of the new possibilities for our, if we built infrastructure the same old, putting to power to who isn't that 21st century? No. Still very 20th century, by the way. We don't want to asphalt and bridges and stuff that exists around through gravity control of the planet. We no longer increase. We just don't need to do that. Airports. I'm going on a trip. What do you mean you don't need airports? I'm going, building an current. It does not use the airport. Our vehicles, because at first it's going to be collectively us going to and then moving out. I don't know. Mankind guiding us all to be. Mankind as a brother. You yourself as one of mankind. Thoughts of your broader perspective. You can see you don't have just in your own to a segue there. What I seem to claim, and what we need to do in order to counter gravity. That movie is that there, in the early part of last summer, and as soon as they don't need fossil fuels anymore. Oops. Paradigm dollars and fossil fuels. And rights and who's living. Those are the ones who are go. Those petrodollars. We from our side, we have asked, and it out of the wilderness because I believe fuels is what is causing of all of I did have call it global warming or not, mass extinction, a wiping out diversity of by some species go extinct each day. It is shrinking. If it's then the biology is always growing. Now it's shrinking. And although it's and so there's something with us. Out of alignment. We're out of alignment. Out of alignment of our universe. And as in the Simharm, you can find this. As we integrate yourself being with the morphic field of spirit. At atomic level, at the level of the protein, you and when you get all the way you integrate end of the, I think it's near the end, say that this is true. You will only when you pass this. You can't integrate the galaxy and move about it unless you a recognition of knowing who you can't. So that Star Trek model, I've binged a whole bunch of Star Trek here, I think. Voyager, just binge watched episodes, and the thing was, rip off the planet using our energy that we figured out how to use. We're going to take our to the universe, and lo and behold, everybody else out there territorial and we're not allowed. This is actually not going to happen, because if you make it out there, out of away from the planet, other than just a little rock, it implies source energy. You have to understand source energy. You are in the center, and these coherency and spin have to interact in order to. It's sort of like a stopgap. There's no way that a warlike species, completely misunderstanding who they are, could ever make it out into the outer spaces in any kind of a meaningful way to have any kind of an impact on the world around them. It just can't happen. It can't. Our ticket to the galaxy is our understanding of source energy. and who we are within it. So I've been sitting here at this slide for a long time. I have 13 slides I captured from as soon as I learn how to do this, and I may learn how to do this tomorrow, if it is allowed that I can embed links to other people's videos without their permission, their full videos. I would like to embed within my presentations both a link to the Lost Century and how to reclaim it, and links to this paper, which is a 37-minute, very highly technical description of this paper right here. The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. All the math has been done. This is the full abstract and the length and breadth of what this paper is trying to tell us. Here's so we got that one. I have very long scene transition time. Let me fix this. Maybe we just go cut. Okay, we aren't going to fade anymore. We're just going to cut. Oh, that was abrupt, isn't it? Maybe I do want to fade. But the fade time, duration, there we go. We're going to make this way shorter. The fade time is way too long. Hold on a second. There we go. Now let's try this. This is probably better now. Alright, I'm just going to go through these slides. This is the Hawking radiation. This other one. I like this one because this shows the stability of the black hole structure of the proton. So it's all black holes all the way up and all the way down. It's like scaling data fields of information, communicating with one another. That's not exactly right. But every proton is a black hole, and it obeys black hole Hawking radiation, and through Hawking radiation, eventually a black hole evaporates. But a proton is a pretty stable little black hole. It will last, if you do the math here, and you can see this mathematics shows you that a black hole will last about, a proton will last about 10 to the 35 billion years. That's a very, 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 very long time. We haven't even been around 10 to the 2 billion years. 10 to the 35, that's a very, 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 very long time. So anyway, let me keep going with these slides. I just screen captured these from the paper, from that YouTube video, and hopefully by tomorrow I can learn how to direct you to these YouTube videos that I keep referring to. The full movie, the explanation of the mathematics. It's all open source now. People are working on it openly now. That's the last of the ones I've got. Actually, these are from the paper itself. These last two, I captured them from the paper before I found that YouTube video that had so many more screenshots that I could capture. This one, I like this one. This one is showing, actually both of those. I like both of these. This one shows how the Planck field of every proton is related to all the mass of all the universe. I like that one. And then this one reminds me of this one, which is showing how as matter comes across the 0-point energy field into being, goes from not being into being, it's spinning. Spin is baked into the cake. And our understanding of all this fully is going to bring us collectively as mankind to gravity control. And we're going to be able to pull all of our transportation systems up off the planet. That's why we don't need to reinforce all of the roads and the bridges the way we have been thinking we need to do that. We don't need to do that because we can take our transportation systems up off the surface of the planet. And we can decentralize all of our energy systems too, by the way. Every home can have its own little source energy, solid state generator, so that we don't have to have power grids, and we don't have to have power lines, and we don't have to have fiber optics, and we don't have to have 5G, and there's all kinds of things we do not need to. Well, 5G is a different thing. 5G, it's misunderstanding the frequencies that we need to be actually operating within. So how are we designed? Who are we? Who are we? Where did we come from? Why do we have the design that we do have? That's very interesting. Why don't we seem to fit easily in with the rest of the natural field around us? Why does it seem like we're an intruder? Why? I believe that we can integrate with our biomorphogenetic field on the planet. I believe we can. We just need to understand who we are, and we need to link into our source more intentionally. Because we do have this mind that can cut away from our source mind and think whatever dark thoughts it wants to. And then it has negative emotions and then imagines what those negative emotions mean about the conditions out there that I've got to go change, not the thoughts that within me that I need to find better alignment with before I take my first steps. Find alignment with your inner being, who knows who you are, who knows what you want, who wants also what you want, who is only looking at what you want, sees everything, is looking at what you want. You, on the other hand, what are you looking at? Are you staring? Are you transfixed by all the things you don't want? Are you hyper focused on the threats around you? Are you focusing on all the things that can or have gone wrong in your life or in our life? Is that what you're focusing on? Well, I think that we need to focus on what we want. And I'm focusing on what I want, and what I want is a world without fossil fuels. I want a world where we all understand source energy, and we understand ourselves, and we understand the meaning, the great, powerful, powerful meaning of life itself. We understand our eternal and collective nature, as well as our divine individuation within this collective nature. We understand the quantum field. Who am I? I am the formless coming into the form. I am eternally that. Right now, in this particular moment in time, in this place on the grid, I am being X. I am X. I'm being whatever. Who am I? Who am I? That's why we come into this space and ask this question. Who am I? Well, I always bring this slide up too. This is just kind of a slide showing the general configuration of the human brain, the human mind, which includes the mammalian and lizard parts of you too. By the way, as you became a human, you didn't cash in those lower brains and trade it in for your human brain. What it is it's layers of understanding, And your mammalian brain is still there. Your lizard brain is still there, and all of those parts. But your humanness contains this neocortex layer, this broader perspective, analytical mind, if you will. And where did this come from? Well, 76% of this comes from human chromosome number 2. 76% of the volume of the neocortex comes from human chromosome number 2. Now, I wish I had the slide that showed showed that that is true, showed where I got that figure from. I got it from Gregg Braden. Gregg Braden, this is his slide too, actually, and he talks about it a little more coyly. He does not come right out and use the expression genetically modified organism. He doesn't baldly say extraterrestrials must have done this to us, but the implication is there. So right here, this one is his slide. This is another one of his slides. I got it. So we conclude that human chromosome number 2 is the relic of an ancient fusion, an ancient DNA fusion of two ancestral chromosomes. Well, get a load of this, because it's actually balder than that. This is the article that he made his slide in reference to. This is that from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It's a peer-reviewed scientific journal where people within the different disciplines of science can publish to their peers their work, because they got to publish to their peers because their peers are the ones that understand the specific language that they're using within their discipline. Every discipline is like a different language. These people are using genetic speak. This is the full... I still have this really long duration. We have identified two allelic genomic cosmids from human chromosome number 2, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. We conclude that what we've been looking at is the relic of an ancient telomere-to-telomere fusion, and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. Not only were they fused telomere to telomere, but upon the fusion, then redundancies on both sides of the fusion were clipped away to stabilize the fusion. I do not believe that this was done. I do not believe that this was an accident. I don't believe that this happened incrementally by random Darwinian evolutionary processes. Nothing like that. This is where... let's see, what was I going to say about this? Greg has written, modifications followed to stabilize the fusion. I don't think this was an accident, especially when you realize that the result of this fusion is human chromosome. It is the neocortex and the broader perspective mind that is the human being. I don't think it's an accident. And then when you understand how the quantum field works and how our asking is a big part of the steps of creation, I actually think that all beings asking is what's creating the abundance around us. The abundance of a natural ecosystem is caused by every being within that ecosystem following source energy and asking for what they want, knowing that source is then producing it, and then there it is. That snail that says, I want more moisture, I want something to eat, and then there it is. Incrementally, over time, desires making the ecosystem unfold. That's how come when it's fully mature, everyone is supported. Everyone is getting everything they want within that ecosystem. They're flying, they're eating the foods that they like, and the foods that they want are there to eat. It's the magic sauce at the center of all things, is this desire. And all the other beings, they are already following their bliss. And we need to learn how to follow our bliss, how to know that source energy is answering us. Ask and it is given. It's so cool. I asked in the 80s and I see in fruition now. Coming into being is all that I have asked for. It's not quite there yet, but you can see it forming. And I'm very, very excited to be a part of this new awakening, this new understanding of who and what we are as source energy, both how to help guide ourselves through our emotional guidance system on the one hand, which is really, really important, but this other piece, which is the true way out of the wilderness, is going to be this new way of extracting energy directly from source energy, and no longer will we be poisoning the planet. Who gives a flying F about carbon footprint? That is only involved because we live in a paradigm where we are burning fossil fuels, and we do not have to. Not only do we not have to, we have to stop it. We need to transition our systems, or we are on a path of extinction if we do not. It's just as bald as that. But I don't say this from a dire sense of doom and gloom. Actually, the answer is fear not, for all is well. And your job, whoever you are out there, your job is to follow your bliss. Your job is to follow your desires, is to get in touch with your clear desire and follow it. And if you have beliefs in the way, if you have beliefs that say, well, that thing I want, I can't have it, massage these, work on it. Work on what is it that you can believe. I now believe that we can have everything we want. Everything we want. And it's only when we are attacking it piecemeal that we have a hard time getting it, because it's a wholeness. We are a wholeness. We are an allness. And actually, I find that I haven't even spoke about this at all. How is it that your inner being can be in touch with all that is? Well, I'll tell you how it can be in touch with all that is. First of all, the universe is holographic. It is holographic. There is the information of all of the universe is contained everywhere in any part of the universe. All of the universe is there. That's important. Your inner being is reading that. Think of it as like a frequency coming in across all your protons. Every one of your protons it is representing the quantum field of all the universe. It's like the Planck field of every proton has encoded within it all of the information of all of the protons in all of the universe. And this is the slide that shows you this one. Let me go back to the slide. It's this one. Man, that transition time is long. I gotta fix that. 3750 is such a long. It just takes forever. This is showing how the Planck field within the proton is reflecting all of the protons of all of the universe. And look at, isn't that interesting what shape that is taking? The one on the left just kind of reminds me of the beginning of the tree of life. Isn't that funny that would be that way? So, what do I have left to speak about? Because I am at over an hour and a half, so I need to kind of wind it down. I don't want these to be too long. This is my little presentation on cymatics. I just want to show people, just so that somewhere in their imagination they can begin to believe that we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and the vibration precedes the manifestation. Well, the vibration itself is a manifestation, but the vibration precedes the manifested form. It goes vibration, comes into form. Vibration first, form second. That is the order of how the morphogenetic field is morphogeneticing. if you will. So this is cymatics. This is the study of the relationship between vibration and form. That's basically, in a nutshell, how you could describe cymatics. These particular ones were created digitally. There's some sort of digital thing. You pipe frequencies in, and these patterns appear. Every frequency is going to produce a different pattern. All unique. Now, this slide is showing more of conventional cymatics. The original study involved a metal plate and a granular medium sprinkled on top of the plate. There's other ways you can do this too. I don't know how to capture videos like that. We'll see whether I can upload such a thing. You can see the granular medium on the black metal plate. As you pipe different frequencies in, different patterns form. And in the upper left and lower right, you can see these are cymatic patterns too, but they're on natural creatures. You can see it. You can see this cymatics playing out in the vibrational universe around you. This is just to help you imagine and realize the truth of the fact that we are vibrational beings living in a vibrational paradigm. The quantum field is vibrational, and vibrations are kind of, well, I don't know how to say it. Look at the snowflake in the middle. It kind of helps you understand how come every snowflake is unique, because they're forming, these ice crystals are forming on little frequencies out there in the sky, little frequencies that sort of line up that pattern, and every frequency creates a different form. And so here we go. Isn't that beautiful? Is there anything else? Yesterday I told actually I didn't put out one yesterday. Day before yesterday, I did my Kafka and the doll story. I don't know whether that's going to be a part of my I'm not going to do it today. The punchline of the Kafka doll story is this one. Everything you love will probably be lost, but in the end, love will return in another way. And that's basically the story of the universe. The love is always there in every form. It doesn't matter the form. The love is at the basis of all things. Love is at the center of 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 the spin that connects us all. And our understanding of this is going to get us into the 22nd. Actually, it's going to properly get us into the 21st century. We're still kind of stuck in the beginning of the 20th century. And the reason that we did not transition off of oil back when perhaps we could have, the reason that we allowed the powers that be to continue that momentum and get a grip on our infrastructures the way that they have over 100 years is we did not have the consciousness. We did not know who we are. And now that we know who we are, now we can take it back. We can become the abundant, peaceful Eden, gardening this Eden, joyfully co-creating with all of the rest of the biofield around us in synchronistic harmony, as opposed to in seeming violent opposition to. We really can do it. We can live our happily ever after. And I personally want to have a part in this. I want to serve as an agent of raised frequency, you could say, an agent of consciousness. I want to help raise our consciousness so that we collectively can understand that we can do this. We do not want to continue on this path of destruction that we have been on. We want to find our happily ever after, our dreams come true. And to that end, I will be back tomorrow. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I bid you peace and awareness.